Today's story is from Luke and Katie, who found themselves in a remote corner of northeastern India just as coronavirus panic began to take over the world. They had to get out of the far east and back to Calcutta. They had a lot of trouble finding accommodation and places to stay. A lot of people were quite hostile to them. And just as they were on their way to the airport to fly out of India, their bus was in a pretty bad traffic accident. So this is their story of almost being stranded in India and the trouble it took them to finally get out. And don't forget to subscribe if you want to see what lockdown is like around the world and what it was like to be stranded abroad during the coronavirus pandemic.
Originally, we were traveling around the northeast region of India, which to begin with is quite a rural area in terms of India standards. It's like, whoa, foreigners, like
like if India is full on, this part of India is like, whoa.
Yeah, it was really hard to believe we were still in India. It's the polar opposite of anywhere else we've been. Like, we've spent 9 months in India, still haven't really even peeled back the corner of such a massive country. So we were having such an amazing time traveling through, and we went into a state called Nagaland, which is a majority tribal area. And we were in, a lot of the parts we were in were quite like that, quite rural. You're talking no Wi-Fi. Our data was scatty, our mobile signal was scatty. So we were fairly often online a lot.
Yeah. Quite isolated.
Quite isolated and in a massive bubble. You know, like we knew what was going on like everyone, but hadn't really hit yet. You know, like things were still only developing in Europe.
We weren't, it wasn't that like in your face yet.
It wasn't on the news. No one was talking about it at all. Being in this little kind of rural corner, it just sort of happened overnight. When we arrived into Manipur, that's when we started to really notice something that happened, because we were treated so differently. It was like we woke up and we were just, I don't know, it was very surreal. And it was getting to a point where people were covering their mouths when they were passing us, pulling their children away from us. Now, this is India. Like, you've been there, right? Like, India is like, hello, how are you? Where are you? Come, meet my family, come have dinner. So to have people all of a sudden be terrified, and honestly, we had no idea why. We had no clue what happened. We were kind of like, Manipur's a bit of a weird state, isn't it? Because we were like, is it this state? Like, what is happening?
The more we looked, we were like, okay, people are actually physically avoiding us. Which is weird.
And we had no clue. So then we were in Imphal, and we were trying to get a place to stay. And we noticed, like, again, like you walk up into any hotel in India and they would like open the doors, roll the red carpet out for you. You are a guest, like, and a lot of the hotels were saying, no, we're full. No, we're not accepting people. So we were like, okay, there's something really strange going on. We eventually found it was kind of like an apartment complex, sort of like a dorm, like a student style accommodation, you know, it's a total crack house, like lovely family and all, but absolute crack house. But sure, we're used to staying in places like that anyway. And so we went in anyway, and we were like, oh, I do have a room or whatever. And the first thing he said to us was like, well, where are you from? We were like, Ireland. He said, so you're not Italian? We were like, no, why would that be a problem? And then he was like, okay, took our passport details, asked us more questions than usual. The minute we got into a room, we started like finding out what was going on. So obviously we Googled Italian, India, and lo and behold, there was just media coverage everywhere about a group of, I think it was 16 Italians. I think 14 of them were confirmed cases. They were on a group tour that had come into India, and therefore it was almost seen as like COVID-19 was introduced to India via Europeans. And that's when it all started kind of making sense to us.
Kind of spread through Facebook like wildfire.
Yeah, we were very hit by it. It kind of, for the first couple of days, I'd say for the first 4 or 5 days, we were very uncomfortable. It was mentally draining. I mean, they didn't want us to be here.
No.
Not at all.
No.
And you see, the thing with India is it's the kind of country where you get involved. You know, they were covering up and they were backing off, and you could, you know, when you just know people are talking about you, you can just pick up the vibes. And we got a bit, our mindset changed to the fact of like, we're not feeling, it's not even just about us not feeling comfortable, it's that the local people are not happy with this family for having us here.
It's not only about us, we're actually affecting them and their standing within their community.
Exactly. We took a little like a little mini bus, and we were sent on top of the roof, right? We were told to sit up on top of the roof. And then we got to the pier to get on the boat, and all the locals said no. The locals sitting on the boat. We went to get on, and your man kind of stopped us, and straight away. This is not a public boat. This is not a public boat. No, like they were just very hostile. Yeah. So we said it's fine. Just the terror in their eyes as well. Like it was so horrible. We felt awful for making them feel like that. Then one guy pulled up in the car, and he just said, "Why are you here? You shouldn't be here. You need to get out of this village." And at that point, we were like, right, we're gonna go. And then on our way there, when we eventually got back towards like some sort of civilization, we were constantly checking the news, and then the announcement came that Mizoram had closed their borders to foreigners.
We just kind of have that moment of, if this takes off here, we don't want to be here. This is not a good place. India is not a good place for us to be if the numbers start to climb.
Yeah.
For all the obvious reasons, you know.
If and when it does take, like, kind of start spreading here, it's going to spread like wildfire here.
Yeah.
And do they really need 2 Irish foreigners here taking up extra beds in their hospital? Do you know what I mean? Like, do they really need us here? We just wrote down a pros and cons list, and the cons just completely surpassed it. Yeah. We were like, right, let's go. So we had to do, it was like 4 to 5 days back to back to get to Calcutta airport on public transport. And again, I think by then paranoia had hit us a little bit. Traveling on public transport, you notice the coughing, and you notice people not covering this. India is one of my favorite countries. I adore everything about it, and it was the first time where I was like, oh God, I just couldn't handle it or something. Yeah. I was just like, I can't. And then it was so weird and so bizarre, and it's still quite something that's a bit surreal to us, but the last overnight bus that we were taking to Calcutta airport gets into a horrific accident. So there was a big bus crash, and it was just absolutely terrifying. Thankfully, like, we weren't hurt, just a few bumps and bruises, just mentally bashed.
My poor ukulele.
Yes, Luke's ukulele, completely destroyed, saved our fall. But our driver, like, he lost his left foot, and it was quite horrific. Like, we collided with a truck, and if anything told us to get the hell out of India, it was that. What is happening?
Like, this is a sign.
We were trapped on the bus, couldn't get out the doors, had to get out the window. Oh, it was just, and there was panic on the bus. I've never been a part of something like that. Already quite panicked, you know what I mean? So
it was crazy, because I mean, even the way people were getting off the bus, we had to get out. So basically it was a head-on collision between us and a truck, but it was the dashboard had come in and trapped the driver's foot, and obviously he had gone into shock. So people were climbing over him to get out of the bus, and he was like, "Don't forget your bags." Everything, he was
so calm as well.
Yeah, so calm and collected. And
but he's okay. He's okay. We got his number, and we contacted him. We found his number on our booking, and we contacted him. And we were like, "Are you okay?" And he video called us. Couldn't speak a word of English, but he was very smiley, off his head on whatever drugs they gave him. But he was good. So he's okay. He's okay, and that made us feel better. We went straight to the airport then. We just sat looking at the screens, going, "Don't you cancel." Don't you cancel. And we flew to Thailand. One of the main reasons being is that we actually had a flight booked from Thailand for the 17th of May to go home and visit family for the month. Like I said, we haven't been home in 2 years, so we were very excited to go home for different family occasions. So we were like, let's just get back to Thailand.
Because worst case, then we can fly out of there on the 17th.
And it's a familiar country. It's obviously got better healthcare, international hub, a lot more space. And we have people that, we volunteered here 2 years ago for a couple of months. So we have somewhat of a home, and again, like family here.